So our today's lecture is on polypropylene. So the previous lecture you learned about polyethylene, which is a olefin obtained from the olefin hydrocarbon, which is called the ethylene. Today we are going to see the polypropylene, which is also a olefin fiber, which is obtained from the olefin hydrocarbon, which is called the propylene, which is the monomer used for manufacturing the polypropylene. So first we'll see the introduction. So this polypropylene short form is the PP, is the first stereo regular polymer to have achieved the industrial significance. Stereo regular means something like a proper sequence of atomic arrangement of atoms in a regular manner. That is called the stereo regular. So it's a 100% synthetic fiber. It is formed of 85% of the monomer propylene, which is a byproduct of petroleum. It's a hydrocarbon. And the propylene, which is the monomer, is a liquefiable hydrocarbon gas, and it's boiling at minus 47 degrees centigrade. So here, before going into the manufacturing part, the stereo-specific polymerization is important to understand. So because of its chemical structure, when it is polymerized, when the propylene is polymerized to obtain the polypropylene, it can lead to different spatial arrangement. The arrangement of the structure, it will be in a different form. So there are some three different possibilities that exist. One is called the atactic or stereorandom. Another is called the syndiotactic, and another is the isotactic. We will see one by one. What is atactic or stereorandom? So here you know that hydrocarbons are the monomers for this polypropylene. So it contains simply the carbon and hydrogen in its chemical structure. So the methyl groups are the main groups that are present in this polymer. So what does this atactic mean? Atactic means something like a random distribution. Okay, the arrangement of the methyl group, it is not a uniform linear or something like a regular arrangement. It is a randomly distributed. So if you observe the structure, you can see here the methyl group is here and it's followed by here, and again it is coming here, so it is going here. There is no proper order of arrangement of the methyl atoms in this structure. So it is a randomly distributed type of a structure. So because of this, what will happen? Because of the non-linearity, it is non-crystallizable. So it is not achieved importance as a plastic or as a textile product. So you know well that for obtaining a textile product, the polymer should be crystallizable and it should have a high molecular weight and other things also. So these things does not suit for the atactic type of polypropylene to be a textile product or as a plastic also. Then next is the syndiotactic. Here you can see the methyl groups that are present. It is in the alternating manner. At the top you can see one methyl atom is there, and at the bottom there is a methyl atom, and again there is a top, there is a methyl atom, so that it is alternating in a regular fashion, but still it is not a perfect type of a polymeric system that is expected. So it is not a stereo regular type of a polymer. So still that also did not achieve the practical significance. So next is the isotactic polypropylene, in which the arrangement is stereo regular, where the arrangement of the methyl groups are placed in a proper sequential order. Okay, so how it became possible? Initially it could not be possible because of the process they used. Like when they prepared the atactic or syndiotactic, they could not obtain the polymer in the proper sequential order. The arrangement of atoms were alternating and not uniform, so they could not obtain the textile based product or a plastic. But This happened by use of some specific stereo-specific catalyst that actually made this polymerization in a proper stereo regular arrangement took place, so that led to the formation of this isotactic polypropylene. Okay, so isotactic polypropylene is the commercially successful plastic also, and also for the textile product also, where the methyl groups are arranged in the same direction. The same linearity is there. You can just see this. You can understand this. So because of the linearity in the arrangement of these methyl groups, this isotactic polypropylene became crystallizable with a higher melting point, say around 160 to 174, so that this can be converted into fibers. This can be because of the crystallization and high melting point, and it can, after convert to fiber, it can have a good orientation that is expected for mechanical properties. So this could be possible by using the isotactic polypropylene. Then, as I told you, initially when the atactic or syndiotactic was produced, the catalyst used could not lead to the proper arrangement of the structure that facilitated the crystallization. So it was the isotactic polypropylene where they used a particular catalyst, stereo-specific catalyst, as I have told you, which is the backbone of the polymer preparation, which is the most important. The stereo-specific kind of catalyst was used. So here in this polypropylene manufacture, the most important thing is the use of the catalyst system, which is different from other catalysts that we have used for acrylic or polyester or whatever we have used. So here, as I've told you, the initial polymerized polypropylene was not crystallizable and showed lower degree of polymerization, lower melting point. It was not desirable to make into a fiber forming polymer. So what happened? There were two scientists, Nobel laureates. Their work during 1950s, they combined. One person is called Ziegler and another is called the Natta. They collaborated for a research, and they produced a coordination catalyst system by mixing some two different compounds that led to the formation of a Ziegler-Natta catalyst that is used for the catalyst, that is used as a catalyst for the preparation of crystalline polypropylene. Okay, so what does this catalyst contain? That is important to know. This catalyst contains a halide of a transition metal of the fourth group of the periodic table. You know what is meant by halide? Halide means it's a halogen like a chlorine, bromine. These are the halogens. So this catalyst consists of two things. One is the halide of a transition metal. Transition metal means it is in the fourth group of the periodic table, like titanium, vanadium. These are the metals that are present in the fourth group of the periodic table. These transition metals, along with the halogen, okay, that is combined with one more compound, which is the organometallic compound of a metal belonging to first group of the periodic table. So one is the halide of a transition metal of the fourth group of the periodic table, and another is the organometallic compound of a metal belonging to one of the three groups of the periodic table, like lithium, beryllium, and aluminium. By combining these both, they made a catalyst that is called the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. So how did they do it? They synthesized this by mixing the titanium chloride, which is called TiCl4. They took the TiCl4 and they took one more organometallic compound, which is the triethyl aluminium. Okay, and then they mix this both in the presence of a solvent like a hexane solvent and produce a suspension, brown color heterogeneous suspension they produced. That is called the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. Okay, these are otherwise called the anionic coordinated catalyst. And the advantage of this catalyst is it acts at room temperature at a normal pressure. At normal pressure and room temperature, this catalyst will work. Does not need a very high temperature, and it is thermally stable. And another advantage is it does not melt at 100 degrees. So it is an advantage for this catalyst. It is a thermally stable catalyst. So as I have told you, you will combine the metal halide of a transition metal from the fourth group of the periodic table with the organometallic compound. Okay, so this I have showed you. You need to use fourth group of the periodic table metal, which is the titanium and vanadium, and which is the combined with the halide. You can see here. This compound will react with the this compound, which is the organometallic compound, like AlR3, AlR2X, Br2. This aluminum, beryllium, lithium, all these belong to the first group of the periodic table. Okay, so these both will react. So here, what does this R mean? R is an alkyl group, like a CH group, like methyl. Just we saw in the previous slide, triethyl aluminum. This Et3 I have put, instead of C2H53, I have put Et3, which is the ethyl group. This both are is the organometallic compound. So R is the alkyl group and X is the halide. Okay, so you react this both. Okay, how you do it here? The transition metal chloride, whichever is used here, it is in the highest valence state, like valency 4 or 5, TLC 4 or TLC 5. And while doing the reaction, it is reduced to valency is reduced in situ, that the same reaction is going on to the lower state, so that you produce a highly crystalline titanium trichloride or titanium chloride, which is a superior catalyst, and it is a very stereospecific. It will attack only at the particular portion of the structure, so that you get the polymer with a proper spatial arrangement. Okay, so let us try to understand how the mechanism of a catalysis. Here you see how this catalyst complex is produced, that I have already told you. You need to take the TiCl4 and react it with the triethyl aluminum. In the presence of a solvent, you produce them. The same thing, just for how the polymerization happens, that you need to understand. Here you can see here catalyst R. Here R is the alkyl group, which is the methyl group. For example, methyl in the sense CH3 group, it is bound to the transition metal. Like for example, triethyl aluminum is here. Okay, and that is the this cat R, which is the catalyst R. Okay, so here you combine the R, which is the alkyl group bound to the transition metal, along with the earlier discussed metal halide, which is the TiCl3. So that what will happen? One will have the delta plus, which is the partially positive charge, and one will have the delta negative, which is the negative charge. So that once they react with the propylene, which is the monomer, so that what will happen? It will lead to the polymerization. You can see here, once the reaction starts, if you mix the propylene and the catalyst, and in a reactor, if you do this polymerization, you can see how this catalyst complex, which is here, it gets attached through the bonding. You can understand. So that here another bonding, there is a scope for another bonding. So it starts making the, starts making up the polymer with a spatial arrangement. So it will lead, once this reaction starts, it will start building up the polymeric network, that where you will get the higher degree of polymerization, where you will get a structure like this. Initially it will start like this, and by one polymer change will start building up, and it will lead to the formation of polypropylene. So now I have briefly explained you how this catalyst system works, and what is the importance of the Ziegler-Natta catalyst, and how it is important for the the polypropylene manufacture. Now we will just have an overview of how this polypropylene is industrially produced. Here, this industrial production of polypropylene is a closely guarded secret. Okay, so because since by basic chemistry we know that Ziegler-Natta is a mixture of metal halide of an organometallic compound, along with one more organometallic compound that is bound with the first group of the periodic table. But normally catalyst, industries prepare the catalyst in the in-house preparation. Okay, So they maintain some trade secret. So they mix this both chemical in some proportion or something, and they make it so that they can reduce the cost and provide the polymer with good molecular weight and other desired properties. Okay, so what are the processing methods? There are two important methods. One is the suspension polymerization, and another is the gas-phase polymerization. Okay, either you can carry out the polymerization either in the suspension, in the hydrocarbon dilute. You need to use a diluent like any kind of a solvent like a hexane or heptane you need to use when you do the suspension, or you can use a gas-phase reactor. These two are the commercially practiced methods. Basically, you see there are the 4 steps in the polymerization process. You can see one is the catalyst preparation, which the industry does it separately. And next is the polymerization. Once the catalyst is prepared, it will react with the monomer and do the polymerization. And after that, polymer purification and the finishing, like whether you need to do some extra things you want to add to the polymer, that you can do it, and your polymer is ready. First, we will see the continuous suspension polymerization method. As I've told you, this suspension polymerization method requires a diluent. You need to dissolve this monomer in a diluent. You need a diluent. The diluent is a solvent like a heptane or hexane you can use. So you require a highly purified heptane or hexane, and you need to mix it with the propylene at the temperature of say 50 to 80 degrees centigrade, less temperature, and you can see the pressure is very less, around 2 to 4 atmospheres. You introduce the catalyst in this reactor along with the propylene, so that what will happen, the polymerization will start happening, and whichever leftover polypropylene that is unreacted, that can be separately recovered using some separate chambers are there where to recover the excess polypropylene that is used. So that is another process, and once your polymerization is done, you can do the other process like you can wash the polymer to remove the excess chemicals that are present, excess propylene or anything is adhered propylene. You can remove it, and you can filter them, dry them, compound them. If you want to add some anti-static agent, or if you want to add some UV protection agent, or if you want to add some dye color you want to add, that also you can. Compounding is something where you add some extra things to the polymer. Okay, so once you do the compounding, then you can do the pelletization. You can cut them into pieces. Okay, so this is the suspension polymerization. So I've told you how it works. So the rate of polymerization you can control by controlling the temperature, pressure, and the catalyst concentration. And you do not need to increase the temperature, because the increase in the temperature, it affects the stereo regularity of the polymer, because it has the thermal stability up to 100 degrees centigrade only. So you do not need to use. So at the less temperature itself, your reaction can be successful, and you can maintain a less pressure and get the higher molecular weight. You can see the viscosity average molecular weight. It is around 10,000 to 1 lakh, and the ratio between the weight average molecular weight and number average molecular weight. This actually says one of the notation for expressing this thing molecular weight. You can see one is the weight average and another is the number average. There's this ratio, it's around 4 to 15. So you get a textile grade polymer with a higher molecular weight. That is the understanding. Next is the gas phase polymerization. Okay, here you need to use a little higher temperature, because you need to perform the polymerization for in a gas phase. So you use a high temperature, say around 90 degrees centigrade, and the pressure also is very high. You can see around 30 to 35 atmospheres. And the steps remain the same, where you need to use a gas phase reactor. That is the difference, where you introduce first the crude polypropylene, propylene you introduced, and then once the propylene is installed, it is distilled, and then goes to the dryer, and in the vapor form it is introduced into the gas phase reactor, and simultaneously the catalyst is also introduced so that polymerization will occur. And once the polymerization is completed, it goes to the storage container where the next step is the compounding and extrusion. So whichever is a leftover propylene unreacted, that can be recycled using other distillation techniques or anything, and it can be used for the process again. So here only the 15% of the propylene in the reactor is used, and 85% is recycled, and the unreacted propylene and the powdered polypropylene are continuously removed. So you can use you can recycle them. That is the advantage. And here one thing is very important to know: this polypropylene is suitable for tape yarns. Tape yarn is something like a which is called a film yarn that is used for making some tapes. That is a part of a technical yarn purpose that is used. But this previously discussed suspension polymerization is for the more towards the apparel type of textile materials. We can use the continuous suspension polymerization. So that is how you manufacture the polypropylene. So how you produce the fiber? In both the ways, whether it is a gas phase or a continuous suspension polymerization, you produce the PP in the form of a chips or a granules. You get the polymer, and which is white in color, and it is a semi-crystalline, like all textile materials. It's a semi-crystalline material. So here, the polymer is sold in the form of different in the range of molecular weight. So how will you express that? That is expressed by a category called the melt flow index. You take a polymer, just melt them and see how it flows, like the rheology properties you check. Okay, MFI is the melt flow index. You take the polymer of say certain weight you take and in grams you take and melt it so that in 10 minutes how much it flows, how much grams flow in 10 minutes. So that will indicate its molecular weight. Okay, so the molecular weight is characterized by the melt flow index. This is one of the testing which we need to do to express which type of an application I can go for. For example, for a textile application, you need a melt flow index of say 15 to 25 grams in 10 minutes. Okay, because textile application, we need to produce polymer where the viscosity is medium. We do not want a very high viscosity. But for a technical sector application where the strength and the other properties, technical properties are important, where we require a very high viscosity, there we can use the MFI index of around say 3 to 5 grams per 10 minutes. It means that in 10 minutes, when you melt the polymer and allow it to flow from a indexer, like a melt flow device, any device is used to allow to flow, only 3 to 5 grams flow. In that case, what it means highly viscous. So those kind of MFI indices are used for technical sector applications. Okay, and in both the cases, whether it is any manufacturing method you use, whether it is a gas phase or a continuous suspension polymerization, the method to produce the fiber is the melt spinning. Okay, melt spinning is used to produce the polypropylene filaments. Okay, so that's all about the manufacturing part of the polypropylene. So I'm stopping here for today. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, we will stop here. Do you have any doubts? Do you understand? Abhay Patil. Pandurang.
Sir?
Yes. Pandurang, did you understand?
सर वो जिगलर नाटा का फिर से बताना, कैटलिस्ट का क्या यूज है?
Okay. See, Ziegler Natta, I have told you, it is made up of two things. You need a halide of a transition metal of the fourth group. Okay, halide means you know it is a halogen. You need a halide of a transition metal. Halide means like chlorine you are taking, and a transition metal like a titanium and vanadium. Okay, so that is one compound. Another is organometallic compound of a metal belonging to one of the three groups, like lithium, like lithium, beryllium, or aluminum. If you just see this, you need to take a metal halide that is bound to a transition metal and another organometallic compound. Okay, these two you will react to produce the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. Okay, so once you react both of them, what will happen is initially whatever halide you have taken, that may be in the highest valence state, that after reaction it will reduce to something like TiCl3, that will be a superior catalyst for the reaction. So that is the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. So that is what I explained in this slide also. So it is a catalyst complex. Okay, here you can see this R. This R is the alkyl group bound to a transition metal. Okay, alkyl group means what? CH group. Okay, the CH group, like methyl group, is bound to a transition metal. So what is the transition metal? I have told you in the previous slide. It is the lithium, beryllium, and aluminium. So it will be like a triethyl aluminium or a diethyl aluminium, like that you take it. So this is a complex formed by reacting the alkylation of a metal halide with a organometallic compound. Okay, so this complex will react with the propylene, because this is the polymerization. In brief it is explained. Okay, so you can see here this catalyst, it is a mixture of two compounds, so that it will have the partially positive and partially negative charge. Okay, so this will start reacting with the propylene uh, propylene monomer, so that what will happen, the monomer units will start inserting one by one over to this complex. Okay, wherever there is a chance for bonding to take place, the bonding will take place. You can see here there is an R again came here, so that here this R is an alkyl group bound to the transition metal, so there is a negative charge. So there is a scope for a positive charge to attach to this, so that the polypropylene polymer starts building up. It will lead to a structure like this. Okay, so one by one a structure will start building up. That is how the polymerization take place. And this linearity, this crystallizable linear polymer, where there is a stereo regular, which is having a proper linear spatial arrangement, that will be possible only if you use this catalyst, that is the Ziegler-Natta catalyst, which is the metal halide bound to a transition metal of the fourth group of periodic table. Like if you need to use a titanium, vanadium, that you can use titanium chloride, or vanadium chloride you can use, and you need to react it with one more organometallic compound like a triethyl aluminium or a diethyl aluminium. If you react this both, you will get a complex like this with a partially positive and partially negative. This will actually participate in the polymerization reaction, and it will start making the polymer chain network that will lead to the formation of the polypropylene with the high degree of polymerization, high melting point, and high crystallinity you will get. Did you understand? Panduran?
Yes,
Huh?
sir.
Okay. Do others have any doubt? Atish? Abhay Patel? Okay. So I will just take the attendance and we will stop here today. So we will meet during the next class, and we will continue the other properties and the applications of polypropylene. Okay, students, thanks for listening. Have a nice day.